Never hurts, even when you're making something as simple as a towel ladder, to have a little blueprint. So I just did this up just to play with my numbers, and this is what I came up with. So each length is going to be 5 feet. My rungs are going to be 17 inches across. There's going to be 4 of them. Again, this is a smaller one. A lot of the ones you'll see on YouTube or some of the other websites are I know they're 6 and 7 feet in length, but this is going in a smaller basement location, so this works for us. And I'm going to come down just so I have the same at each. I'm going to come down about 8 1/4 inches, and then I'm going to start my rungs, and there'll be 14 1/2 inches in between each rung. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm aiming for here. So the first thing I did was take my 8-foot piece of pine and I cut 3 feet off it. So my towel ladder is going to be, based on where I'm putting it, 5 feet in length. And because this is 7 and a little over 1/4, I'm going to make my cut here. I'm going to find the middle of this, which is 3 5/8, and I'll rip this. And so each length will be 5 feet by 3 5/8. So that's going to be the first step. Now you can do there's different most towel ladders are actually taller than 5 feet, but where I'm putting this in a basement location with a stand-up shower, there's not a whole lot of room. So you know, I went down and I kind of pre-measured, and 5 feet is plenty of length for me. So 3 5/8 gives us half of the width, and I'm gonna rip that on my little table saw there, and I'll have my 2 lengths. So here's how it looks ripped. So that 3 5/8 measurement works out pretty good. So these are the pieces that are left over from my 1x8 piece of pine. So I'm gonna go 17 inches as far as your length of the rungs go for the towels. And my measure here, could just go do the width there so we can see this. So I've come up with the biggest width that I can use as far as the rungs go, based on I'm going to say 7 1/4, so 7 5/16 is 2 3/8. So if I go 2 3/8 times 3 across here, then I'll get 3 pieces from this one, and I still have a piece left over, and I'll just take one off of that, 2 3/8, and that'll give me 4 rungs on my towel ladder. So I've just temporarily changed locations, and I'm just using my electric sander to just very gently just take a little layer off this, just to give it a smoother feel. The pine, you don't need to take a whole lot off of it, but yeah, I'm just kind of giving it a nice light sanding, and this is P220 is what I'm using on my sander. Take 2. So I've put a small angle, it's just about 15 degrees at the base of what's going to be my sides of the towel ladder, and that's just going to give it a little more stability when it's leaning against the wall. So I'm working alone here, so I've got my angles. I had to do this off of camera, and you see the marks on the board. I'm just following the original template from the first part of the video. So I just measured down 8 1/4. Another, from this mark I came down 14 1/2, 14 1/2, 14 1/2, and then I'm 8 1/4 up from the bottom again. And these are just my numbers, and this is because mine's only going to be 5 feet tall. That's going to be the way mine goes, but again, you can play with your numbers, and if you decide to go with something a little bit bigger, then you might want to stretch that gap out a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit of glue, a little dab of glue on here before I use my brad nailer. I'm by myself, so I have these 2x4s up, so it brings up the rung about, well, not about, it's 1.5 inches, and just barely off the middle, but I'm happy enough, it's close enough considering the piece that I ripped here. So it'll bring it up, and at least it'll be consistent. It will be consistent all the way down. And like I say, a little bit of glue. I'll put the rad nailer. I'll put a couple of nails in each one, and we'll see how it looks. Ladder complete. A little bit of sanding left to do, just where you can see the little pencil marks there, just to fine tune it up. Finished product in its location. As you can see, we decided to put a light white coat on the ladder, and I just put a very light coat on top of that of Varathane, just to protect it from getting moldy or mildew from the wet towels.